What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Tuesday night show. The Point Spread here to talk about the Zurich Classic of New Orleans, whatever you want to call it. That's the name they got on the PGA Tour schedule. So just going to roll with that. But a little bit different of a week. If you haven't really absorbed any content or aren't sure what this event is, every golfer has a partner, essentially, and they're going to be Thursday and Saturday, it's a best ball, so taking the best score. And then Friday and Sunday is an alternate shot. One guy hits the tee shot, the next hits the approach, so on and so forth. So interesting format. I'm not a huge fan. I know a lot of other people aren't a huge fan of it, but bets are posted. DFS prices are posted. So why not go after it? I mean, a week where there's so much uncertainty, who's to say that you can't bank one and hit your first GPP or whatever. But either way, we're going to get into it. TPC Louisiana, par 72, just over 7,400 yards. It's the fifth year that they're doing this format. The last four winners of the event. Last year, Mark Leishman and Cam Smith won at 20 under, beat Louis Oosthuizen and Charles Schwartzel in a playoff. 2020 was part of the scheduling, not even conflict, but the schedule just removed the Zurich Classic from the event in 2020 after they came out of the COVID break. Obviously, this event's not really a priority on the PGA Tour schedule, so they just axed it altogether. So 2019 was 2 times ago. Ryan Palmer and John Rahm won that one. 2018, Billy Horschel and Scott Piercy. And then 2017, Cam Smith again with Jonas Blixt, who isn't too – I know a lot of people aren't too familiar with him right now. And then they beat Scott Brown and Kevin Kisner in a playoff that year. So seeing a variety of winners, looking at some of the leaderboards, like you don't have to have two studs on your team to push it towards the top. If two guys are clicking together and two guys are hitting their shots, playing off one another, you can see below average players push out good results. So, looking at last year's, I mean, Peter Uihlein and Richie Werenski were third. So it's like neither of those guys, they're barely holding on to a tour card right now. So it's hard to really say that you need two studs. It's appealing towards the top of the board. I get it. But some of the numbers that they're throwing, it's almost unbettable, I would say. Either way, we're going to just go into it. I mean, stat-wise, same things. I'm not getting crazy. Par 3 scoring, if you want to look into it, all 4 par 3s on the course at TPC Louisiana fall into that 200 to 225 range. So I'm kind of going to look at approach shots from 200 plus. You can throw in that par 3 scoring if you want, but I'm probably not going to do that too much. Birdie or better percentage, I want guys who are making birdie when they're playing their best ball. I want 2 guys who are birdie makers, because obviously the more birdies that you get, the better chance you have to go low. Really comes down to the alternate shot. All we can really control is the best ball. Get 2 guys who can make birdies, who can give themselves opportunities, even if they're just giving themselves opportunities in the alternate shot. Like, these approach shots are going to come into play. So looking for that as well. Putting, they're Bermuda greens, so can throw that into it if you want. Seen a handful of pretty good putters win at this event. But anyways, top of the board, like I kind of mentioned, seems unbettable to me. Looking at DraftKings Sportsbook, they have Hovland and Morikawa plus 650, Cantlay and Schauffele plus 800. Bet Rivers has both of the top 2 at plus 800. Leishman and Cam Smith are right behind. Obviously, last year's winners. It's followed by Ryan Palmer and Scotty Scheffler. Palmer, a prior winner when he played with John Rahm, which I mentioned a little bit ago, back in 2019. So now Palmer gets to play with the number 1 golfer in the world again. I know there's been stats out there of how good his partners are. I don't know what Palmer's doing to get these partners, but he's got to be bribing these guys in some type of way. But Cantlay and Schauffele actually do have experience together. Had a pretty good outing last year, but I don't think they match up to Hovland and Morikawa. If I'm betting either of the two or betting at all towards the top of the board, I don't see myself laying the 8-1 on Hovland and Morikawa, but I think they have a really strong chance to say top 5 or top 10 at least. It's like both of these guys are 2 of the top 5 players in the world. Morikawa and Hovland both got experience at this event last year, but did not have each other as partners, which is a massive advantage heading into this year. Matt Wolff was with Morikawa. So obviously last year at this time in April had some upside because Wolff wasn't the Wolff that we are seeing today. So Morikawa and Wolff last year was pretty intriguing, but they actually ended up finishing in the bottom 6 in the whole event. Victor Hovland, on the other hand, was with Christopher Ventura, who, if you remember, they were the first round leaders. They held the lead into, a majority of the tournament. Like they were towards the top of the board the whole way. And then the alternate shot on Sunday shot a 78 and were just dead in the water. It was the second worst round of everyone that made the cut out of all 33, I think it was, that made the cut. Shooting a 78 and alternate shots very doable. It doesn't matter what 2 guys you have. If someone's wayward off the tee and putting the other guy in a bad situation to either punch out or try to make some magic happen, you can put your partner in a bad spot and just continue a downward battle. Like there's no coming back from it. So seeing that Hovland had some success though with Christopher Ventura is promising to me, especially seeing that he's with Morikawa this week. They have an Oklahoma State connection, obviously, both from Norway. But if you look at Ventura, like heading into the event last year, he started 2021 making 2 cuts in his first 8 events. Very poor finishes. So Hovland didn't get the best partner, but he got one of his friends. So looks like Ventura kind of continued that form last year. But either way, getting 2 of the top 5 guys in the world is very intriguing, especially compared to Cantlay and Xander. They have experience together, but I just don't like. I'd like to see Xander in better form if I'm going to lay that number of 8-1. Xander Schauffele's missed the cut in 2 of his past 3 stroke play events. The match play event wasn't all that great. He went 1-2 in a group that featured Tony Finau, Takumi Kanaya, and Lucas Herbert. So I'd just rather see him in better form. And I've been talking since we launched here at Fantasy Points that Cantlay's approach just hasn't been there either this year. And this is a pretty big approach course. There's a lot of spots to get into trouble in terms of bunkers and whatnot. You got to put it close, make your putts, put your partner in a good spot. And I just don't like the way that they stack up given the odds. Obviously, they're an elite team. They're an elite combination. I'm just not willing to pay up that high for them to. Dropping down the board a little bit, I mentioned Cam Smith and Leishman, last year's winners, Palmer and Scheffler. Burns and Horschel are 13-1. So those first 5 guys are 13-1 and lower, or first 5 teams are 13-1 and lower. They're followed by Tommy Fleetwood and Sergio Garcia at 17. Taylor Gooch and Max Homa at 22, followed by Lowry and Poulter at 22. It's hard for me not to go back to Lowry and Poulter. Lowry, not Poulter. Everyone knows my love for Lowry, so I think a win's coming soon. He kind of gagged it away last week. Couldn't make a couple putts, but still on Shane. I'm not going to give up Shane yet. So sticking with Lowry. I'm going to keep doing it. Betting card for the week, Lowry Poulter. There it is, 22-1. Neiman and Mito Pereira, 25-1. I think they're interesting. 2 guys from Chile. Not sure if I'm behind this week, but I tweeted out a photo earlier of when they were teens. It looked like Mito had like 10 years on Neiman when it's closer to I think 3 or 4 years difference. It's got to be 3. But either way, not sure if I was behind. I just came across that photo today when I was looking at stuff because I realized they're both from Chile, whatnot. But on a serious note, really strong team. Season ranks in comparison to the field. Tee to green, Neiman is 6th. Mito is 7th. Approach game on the season, Mito is 18th. Mito is 4th. Neiman is 18th. Sorry. Ball striking, Mito is 3rd and Neiman is 15th. Just looking into Mito's game heading in, he's really just been let down by the putter. I mean, Mito, from a stats perspective, has been great ever since he got those 3 wins on the Corn Ferry and gained his PGA Tour card last year. So has to be able to putt this week, obviously. Neiman has been putting well, but hopefully these two can click together. Obviously have a history. But after that, threw Bramlett and McNeely on the card. I just really like McNeely's form. I've talked about him in the past weeks. He's just continues his strong approach game. Is a birdie maker. Last 12 rounds, ranked 17th in approach, 12th in ball striking in comparison to the field, 10th in birdie making. The par 5s from 550 to 600. He's 11th in the last 12. Let's take a look into Bramlett, who last year really showed a lot. I would say he popped up in a lot of different spots. So I think 75 to 1's a pretty good number for guys who have upside, have shown the ability to gain strokes on approach. It's really going to come down to putting for these two guys. Bramlett's not the best putter in the world. McNeely has his days, but top 20s on this board. We got Ben Hunan and Sung J M. I was very tempted to throw them on my outright card. It's just tough to lay the number that they're offering. I think those two, let me take a look. Yeah, On and M are 32 to 1 over on FanDuel. So fair number. Obviously, Ben On does not have his PGA Tour card. I can't wait for that moment, which is going to come in the fall swing. He already got a win on the Corn Ferry Tour. So it's like Ben Hunan, I think he was 2nd last week. He was showing good form. He's also played very well here. I mean, Ben On is a guy who has finished up here in this event specifically, and I think this event when it was just a stroke play event. So, yeah, two guys that haven't played together before, obviously, in this event. But Kisner and Brown are a little bit different when it comes to that. They have played together in this event. Back in 2017, I mentioned they finished 2nd. Back in 2019, they finished T5. Scott Brown has shown a little bit. I don't know if he made the cut last week or not. See here, this season could definitely be better. He's not horrible in any of the metrics that I'm looking at when it comes to Scott Brown, but he's definitely not where he was when they were pushing out top 5 finishes in this event. So gain strokes putting at the RBC Heritage, lost around the green and lost tee to green, field average on approach and off the tee for the most part. I mean, nothing crazy there. He's really been all over the place. He's only had 4 events this year, 2 made cuts. Both made cuts were at the alternate events or whatever you want to call it. Puerto Rico Open, Corrales Punta Cana Championship, 41st and 28th. So clearly the form's not there, but Kiz has his guy. They know how to play together. So not too bad of a line there at plus 220. I think Higgs and Smotherland are very interesting at plus 275. Obviously, Higgs had himself a week at the Masters, was up there in the top 10 when it comes to strokes gained approach at that event. And Smotherman's a guy that's just popped a couple times this year. Had a pretty good rookie year over the last 12 rounds. Smotherman leads this field in proximity from 200 plus. I mentioned at the top of the show that these 200 plus yard approaches are going to come into play on these par 3s. There's all 4 of them are 200 to 225, right in that range. So if Smotherman's getting a chance at it 8 of these times, 12 of these times, I don't see why not. Carp says, how many of these players have played foursomes together? Team note in the Ryder Cup, President's Cup. Wanted to look all that. Yeah, I don't have the time either. It's extremely hard to look up and see how guys have played together because there's not a very easy outlet to kind of see tournament history and partner wise, you got to kind of search a guy's name and then see who they're partnered with and almost write it down. I was just looking through almost top 10 finishes the last 4 years that they did the Zurich Classic and going from there. I mean, if you see guys consistently finishing in the top 10 with other partners, it means they either have it down with a strategy, they're entering the week in good form, or they're just good in this type of format. So a lot of different things you can look at, a lot of volatility. Like there's no clear cut answers here. Like the winners that we've seen. And like I mentioned earlier in the show, Peter Uihlein and Richie Werenski coming third last year. Some of this stuff just doesn't make sense, but I want two guys who I have confidence in. I think Higgs and Smotherman do fit into that category. Higgs, outside of the Masters, hasn't been fantastic, but I just feel like, let's see if Higgs even played in this one last year. Harry Higgs and Gellerman. So didn't give himself much of a fighting chance pairing with Michael Gellerman. They did shoot a 67 on the first day, which, where did that even rank? Not horrible. Towards the middle in the first round, but was probably a majority of Higgs's shots. 72 in alternate shot led to them missing the cut, essentially. So Michael Gellerman, another guy who lost his PGA Tour card. Higgs just had him as a partner, I guess. I tweeted out earlier this week, too. My guys in the season long, Sung Jam, one of them, I don't know what they're doing with their partner selection. Like Bill Haas is playing with his dad. They're dead last when it comes to odds. Jay Haas was a golfer back in the day, but Haas played with Mahan last year. They did very poorly. But again, I guess Haas just doesn't love. Haas comes here for fun. Let's just leave it at that. Bill Haas comes to TPC Louisiana to have some fun. You can't dog him for that. If you get a chance to play with your dad in an event like this, all the power to him. But either way, season-long guy, come on, Bill. Call DJ or call Rom or someone. I know they probably wouldn't play with you anyways, but either way. What else do I got here? Another top 20. I don't mind David Lipsky and Aaron Rye, two guys that we've seen some upside from this season. Aaron Rye showed some earlier and had a 6th place finish, I think, at the Farmers. But looking at Rye's season stats, still pretty good. And that came from a consistent fall finish. He had, I think, back-to-back top 20s when he was officially a quote-unquote rookie. But Aaron Rye is 3rd in the field this season in proximity from 200 plus, top 35 in tee to green, approach, and ball striking in comparison to the field. He's 4th in opportunities gained over on Fantasy National, so you love to see that. David Lipsky, on the other hand, nothing crazy. European Tour guy who finally got his card, the 7th place finish at Corrales Punta Cana. Outside of that, and we've seen better. He had a 14th at the Amex, 24th at Pebble, 26th at API. Approach has been all over the place. He was pretty good on approach to start the year, kind of got away from him, but he's had some upside putting rounds, which is a good thing when it comes to these type of events. So if you're doing the alternate shot and Lipsy's getting a hack at some of these putts, so be it. Last time we saw David Lipsky, missed cut at Valero, gained an approach, was very poor everywhere else. Didn't gain that much on approach, but two guys that for a top 40, you can get at plus 240 on DraftKings, or a top 20, top 20, a plus 240 on DraftKings, plus 230 on FanDuel. So, I mean, compared to the guys that they're surrounded with, I don't see a whole lot of options that I'm extremely confident in. From a DFS perspective, it's a little bit different, but in terms of a top 20, there's not a lot of guys in that range that I am thrilled with, to say the least. Uihlein and Werenski, I mentioned them a couple times. I mean, they were 3rd place last year, so clearly they know something about each other, but DraftKings is offering up a plus 330 for them to finish top 20. Maybe they have some chemistry. Who knows? But they have played together, have had success. Looking at a breakdown, they were really consistent last year. The best ball, they shot a 65 and a 68. Alternate shot, they shot a 69 and a 67. For alternate shot, that's actually really good. The 67 on Sunday was the best score of the day, and their 69 on Friday was the second best. So if you're playing alternate shot that well with two guys who are, I guess I'll say below average PGA Tour golfers, got to be something to that, I guess. So plus 330 compared to plus 250 for Uline and Werenski to finish top 20 over on DraftKings. Don't lay the plus 250 on FanDuel. Make sure you're getting the value for them two guys. If I had to throw another outright in there, looking down the board, same type of range as on an M, you can get Davis Riley and Will Zalatoris at 36-1 on FanDuel. I don't know if Zalatoris couldn't find a partner last year, just didn't want to play in the event, but they're both making their first appearance in the Zurich Classic for this event. Zalatoris, obviously this season, compared to the field, number one in ball striking, tee to green, and the 200-plus yard approaches. Not a strong field, so that's not all that shocking. Davis Riley has showed some flashes as of late, so that's a pretty intriguing pair of young golfers. Zalatoris, Riley both grew up together. Like I said, two younger guys. Cantley and X to be a lock. In DFS plays, I don't know, Carp. It's tough. I mean, it's almost a coin flip between Morikawa and Hovland, but I mean, I would probably lean the two younger guys just because of their form. I feel like the whole Cantley approach thing, even on his upside tournaments, are a red flag. And then too many names. Schauffele's form. I mean, missing a couple cuts and going 1-2 in the match play event. I just don't really know where Xander's form is at. That's the only thing that really scares me. I mean, I'm not going to make an argument against them. When you get two elite guys teeing it up together at the Zurich Classic, you can't overlook that. So either way, they're both going to be pretty popular. I think most DFS lineups, me and Matt will get to that tomorrow, but I think most DFS lineups are going to start with either Team Schauffele, Morikawa, or Smith. I mean, I just think everyone's going to go into it with their head at, I'm starting one of these guys. Could have some leverage plays if you go with a balanced roster, because I don't think a lot of people are willing to do that. But that'll be a little bit more interesting, the DFS show tomorrow, because there are different strategies that you can take on. There's a lot of leverage to be had when it comes to ownership. If you see something in guys down the board, like I kind of mentioned with Uline and Werenski, you can do that. But either way, just recapping my chalkboard bets. Lowry and Poulter, Neiman and Pereira, Bramlett and McNeely are my outrights. Top 20s are On and M, Scott Brown and Kisner, Smotherman and Higgs. So I'll be tweeting out my final card tomorrow, hopefully, if I do have a final card. Obviously, not a huge fan of this event. I don't think many people are, but it's the PGA Tour switching it up. I don't know how much I'll be watching. I watched very briefly last week. I was in Vegas, hit a couple head-to-heads. Outside of that, the slots didn't do too well for me. The blackjack table didn't do very well for me. Jordan Spieth was the only thing from a head-to-head perspective. I did not have an outright on him. Head-to-head and a couple DFS lineups. But outside of that, not a huge week in Vegas. So either way, thanks for joining. Feel free to send me any questions on Twitter that you might have at DomCinto_11. Obviously down below, Cinto22 is my promo code for the Fantasy Points package. Make sure to get in on the action monthly, 3-month, yearly, whatever you want to do. Use that 10% off code and get going. Get all of the great articles that we are posting on the site. I am not doing a FanDuel's play this week. I actually haven't even logged into FanDuel to see if they're offering a contest. That's how behind I am and how much I could care less about the Zurich Classic, but I'll be playing DraftKings lineups. I've done it before. I'll be throwing a couple outrights, a couple bombs, a couple top 20s. Wish they offered a little bit deeper, if they could make this event a little bit bigger, offer some top 40s, have some fun with it. But this event should just go away altogether. Either way, thanks for joining. Those are my picks for this week's Zurich Classic. Make sure to join me and Matt tomorrow for the final points. We'll be going over our final thoughts, DraftKings picks and strategy, who we're both on. So thanks for joining, and we'll see you next week.